Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Not Your Average Conversations.
Not your average perspectives.
Not your average black girls.
Not your average black girls, not your average black, not your average black girls. Okay, so it's episode 2, and the gang's all here. We've got Meagan, Dice, and Jordan. And before we get into today's topic, which is very exciting, I hope you all are just, on the edge of your seats waiting for what we're going to talk about today. We're going to let Meagan do the Not Your Average Black Girl shout out for this episode.
What's up, everybody? So this week's Not Your Average Black Girl shout out is going to go to one of my best friends. Her name is Dawn. Dawn is the CEO of a health company. She focuses on skin, beauty, and wellness. The company is called Glow Essentials. If you want to follow her company on Instagram, it's at GLOWESCENTUALS. It is such a great company, and I am biased because she's my best friend, but I have purchased so many of her products, and I'm telling y'all, you're going to love it. Everything is handcrafted, 100% natural, paraben-free, cruelty-free, all the good stuff that we look for when we're looking at products we're going to put on our face and our body. Dawn is from Savannah like me, so I have to plug the 912 at all times, any given opportunity I have. She's a Black woman, so you would be supporting a Black-owned business. She has so much stuff, y'all. It's face masks, scrubs, lip gloss, soap, body butter. For my women out there, she has some yoni steam products, yoni wash, yoni pearls. So you don't want to miss out. We're recording this episode right now. It is August 8th for us. And today her website just relaunched, y'all. So this is perfect timing. If you want to shop with her, just go to glowessentialsbathandbody.com. I spelled it out for y'all earlier, and you won't be disappointed. I'm telling you, there's so much good stuff. I got to go make my purchase when we get off of here because I fell asleep at midnight when it relaunched. But y'all go check out my girl Dawn, Glow Essentials, support a Black business. And that is our Not Your Average Black Girl shout out.
Okay, thank you, Meagan. So I know on our last episode, we did do Breonna Taylor as our Not Your Average Black Girl shout out. And Dice, I believe you have an update on that.
Yes. So as y'all know, Breonna Taylor's case has gotten nationwide, if not even worldwide attention. And thanks to all of that, there is finally a formal investigation launched by the FBI. So we are all hoping and praying that we get a positive outcome. And also, as y'all know, Breonna Taylor was on the cover of Oprah's magazine, which I'm sure gave it even more recognition. And it was a big deal because Oprah doesn't give up her cover. So
Right.
I'm very happy to see that she was willing to sacrifice her cover for a good cause and for Breonna Taylor. So let's just keep her in all our thoughts and prayers.
Okay. All right, guys. So now it's time to get into the topic for today. So we're going to be discussing late 1000s, early 90s.
This is how you know we're live, y'all.
We're going to be discussing pop culture. I had one job, y'all. Pop culture in the late 90s, early 1000s versus today. And so we got a lot of things that we want to talk about with this because we're bringing, I feel like, a lot of maybe little known facts to light or just things that we may not have paid attention to as our younger selves, with us being 90s babies. When a lot of these things were happening, we were probably like, definitely elementary, but kindergarten, first grade, things like that. So we probably just weren't really paying attention. And so it's really interesting to be our age now and look back on these things.
Nice. What year were you born?
See, I don't see why we gotta get specific.
Now, man, you
don't
have to do that
because I'm like the oldest on here. And,
No. Listen, you're not
that
old.
was a slight.
No, you're not old. But for whatever reason, I don't know why I thought you were born in 1989. So when Jordan said we're all 90s babies. But that's young. You're not even 30. Don't do it. You're not even 30.
Yeah, I was about to say, Dice, you're a 90s baby, right?
Yes, I am.
I was about to say, you don't have to confirm. I don't know why I said it right. But I was like, I'm pretty sure.
This conversation is over. Y'all just need to know that I was born in the 90s. And we're going to leave it at that. Because I genuinely
was like, Isn't Dice born in? I don't know why I thought you were born in '89, but you're not even 30. That I guess that goes to show how off
Megan,
my
you were just
math
making
is.
it worse.
My
You were just
bad.
making it worse. This
My
is
bad.
enough.
My bad. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry. I'm
So yes,
sorry.
so let's get back on track because Dice is going, try and I don't know, run us over. But so the first topic for today, we want to get into body shaming. So I think the first example of that would be Mariah Carey. I know we all see our queen Mariah today. And if anybody just kind of remembers her from the late 90s, early thousands, I mean, obviously she was younger. Obviously there's a change. She's had twins, you know what I'm saying? So the female body is amazing with the things that we can do. And she still looks good to me. But from what we were,
Yeah, from back in the day, it was a different story. So
thank you.
in the 90s, early 2000s, y'all know Mariah was a huge star. And rightfully so, because the girl could sing.
Hmm.
And, she was a major star. And unfortunately, due to a lot of controversy in her career and her personal life, a lot of things got overshadowed. But I do think that Meg has a little bit more insight into her direct story and how it's linked to body shaming. So I'll let Meg kind of take it from here.
I just know that during the glitter era, as everyone likes to say, is kind of when she really started getting a lot of flack for her body. I mean, so she was already under scrutiny during that time, right? Because people were saying the movie was trash. But when she was doing music video to boost up, what was the song, y'all? The lover boy, the one that has
Yes.
Candy in the background. I know that it was like really that video and some of the press that she did for the movie, some of the photo shoots is when it really started, where people were like, oh, she's fat, or oh my God, look at her body. And this is long before twins.
Hmm.
And I was really shocked when I learned that. I was like, wait, they thought that this was fat? Like I'm confused and I don't know what fat is because
Yep.
Shawty has on a bikini, like that probably was the best that her body has ever looked, quite frankly.
Hmm.
And to know that that was the time where she got the most hate for it was just like, wow. So yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, Mariah Carey's on the body shaming list. Who
Yeah.
else?
We also have Alicia Silverstone from Clueless, one of my personal favorite movies from the 90s.
Same.
When she was in Clueless, she was not body shamed, but it was afterwards when she was in one of the Batman movies and they started to body shame her then and call her fat.
It was Batman and Robin. I love that movie. So
Yes, Batman. And you know what's also more interesting about that random fact? That was actually like one of the worst performing Batman movies, which I thought was funny because I also loved it, but maybe because we were kids, I don't know.
it was one of the worst, but I loved it. I love a good D-list film on any given day. Okay, I'm here for the bad movies. I love it.
So yeah, she was known as the fat girl, and I don't know, again, same with Mariah Carey. If y'all were to go back and look up their pictures from that time period, I don't think the average person would say they were fat. Alicia Silverstone to me just looked regular. Like she wasn't skinny, she wasn't fat, she was like a good size, but she was considered fat.
She was
Another,
healthy.
yes, exactly. Another person that was considered fat was Drew Barrymore. They used to make baby fat comments about her all the time. And Drew Barrymore does have like a curvier physique or whatever. But I think at that time in the 90s, into the early 2000s, they just did not want to see any sort of fat, anything that could be remotely considered fat, they wanted nothing to do with. And so, kind of to put everything into perspective, Paris Hilton at that time, especially the early 2000s, her body was considered the ideal. So,
Which I think is really weird because I look at older pictures of Paris Hilton and I mean just rectangle. I mean just straight down. You know what I'm saying? Like straight down. And so I was like, this is weird. And like when you look at low rise jeans and stuff, you always find pictures of Paris Hilton and I feel like her clothes are like hanging at her thighs. Like that's how long and low her stuff would be.
yep.
But yeah.
And they liked being able to see like the hip bones,
Yeah.
which hers were definitely protruding because she was so small. So they really like admired that. I don't know. It was just a thing. It was just a thing, y'all. That's all I can say.
Mm. Well, what about, aside from, okay, so Paris Hilton's body was considered ideal. And then we're talking about all the other people off the top of our heads who we know were body shamed or fat shamed at some point. But we definitely saw that in TV and in film as well, because I know that off camera we've discussed how like plus size women were always the funny friend in shows and movies. You know, a big one that people are talking about right now, especially on Twitter, is Kim on Moesha.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, you know.
And I mean, I think I don't know if y'all remember, but once Moesha like finally ended and like they all kind of had to like fend for themselves out here, Kim ended up on one of those like celebrity weight loss shows on VH1. I can't remember. It was like Celebrity Fit Club. Don't quote me, but she ended up on one of those shows, and at that time. She had had her body done, which back then was like really crazy because it wasn't like how it is now. So it was like not too many people were like getting it done and let alone like admitting that they got it done, right? And she was talking about how she had her body done because she wanted more ass. And she was like, you know, she wanted to be seen as a vixen or like as sexy and stuff like that, which was like really interesting for the time because clearly her role on Moesha was the complete opposite and probably
Mm-hmm.
not by her choosing, but because that's what they felt was best. And so they kind of like in the 90s, you could see that all the time on their shows where it was like, oh, you have to pair, you know, the quote unquote fat girl with the skinny girl or whatever to bring the skinny girl out even more. Like it was just this weird thing. And on the all the fat girl could be was funny. And that was it. They didn't want her to be nothing else. It was just like you gotta be the funny fat friend. And that's it. And so I think
Mm-hmm.
she was bothered by that too. And that's a whole nother story because I know y'all know there's drama behind her and Brandy on the set of Moesha. But nevertheless, she's one of the few that got pegged into that whole fat friend thing.
Right, right.
I just think, misrepresentation or underrepresentation is just a big theme in the entertainment industry, whether it's, singing or acting or TV or things like that. But I mean, we talk about making sure that you have Black people represented. Like you always hear, people complaining about making sure that Black people play Black people, or that, members of the LGBTQ plus community play members of the LGBTQ plus community. And so I think the same like lack of knowledge and understanding that the industry displays whenever they will cast somebody who's unfit for a specific role, I think you see those same mistakes made when they were trying to cast plus size or full size or everyday sized women in these roles in the late 90s early thousands. Like they just didn't know what they were doing, so they were making mistakes all over the place. And so I don't know, you just see people having to carve out, I think, the desire and the want for these, like, I don't know, for these underrepresented communities in these respective areas of the entertainment industry. Because you had Monique when she hosted, what was that, like the BET Awards, when she did
Mm-hmm.
the plus
Mm-hmm.
size girl version of Beyonce. I can't
Yeah.
even remember what
For
song it was,
Crazy in
Yeah,
Love. Crazy in Love.
yeah.
Yeah.
And this is a little bit of a tangent, but like where I'm from in Alabama, one of the local HBCU colleges there, like the dancers for the band is like a really big thing with HBCUs. And so they came out with a plus size dance line. And that was like a really big thing the year they came out with that. And then you started seeing other HBCUs doing it. But my whole point is, well, how come we had to create a whole different dance team? How come there needs to be like a whole different performance for this? Why weren't these body shapes represented in the original? Like why do we have to carve out a whole different area in order to show the desire of this body style or the desire of this underrepresented X, Y, and Z? So I don't know. I just think people have to learn and grow, and that's what we saw in the 90s was just ignorance and no knowledge.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And then not even just within like TV shows and movies, but even on vacation. Because I know y'all remember back when Tyra Banks had her TV show. And
Mm-hmm.
this is back when, I mean, tabloids are still a thing, but I feel like they don't make as much money. Back when tabloids were still really huge, and she was on vacation on the beach having a good time in her bathing suit. And they took pictures of her and like shamed her and was like, look at her legs, look at her thighs. She's gained weight, all of this stuff. She got right on her talk show in that bathing suit and was telling all them people, oh, you think I'm fat? Okay, kiss my fat ass. And I loved it. Like, I was like, okay, Shawty done opened up the show. with the bathing suit on. She letting you know right now. She don't care what you think. But like, how sad was that
Yeah.
Yeah.
she couldn't even enjoy
And she
herself?
wasn't even fat, is what's the
Yeah.
funny part about it. Because, like, she had retired from modeling and she still looked damn good. Until
Yeah.
this day, still looks damn good. But yeah, it just shows you, like, there was just no leeway for any, especially women, because you didn't really see a lot of body shaming of men. There was no leeway for women to gain any sort of weight. Like, they were expected to be the same size they were at 16 or 18 at
Yeah.
35 or 40, which is insane because most people do not stay the same size their whole entire life. Unless you're
Right.
lucky. I mean, I know I don't shit. But nevertheless, yeah, it was a big deal when she did that because, like, that was, I think, 2007. And I believe at that time, like, she went viral, quote unquote, for 2007 because it wasn't like people went viral all the time then. And so she went viral, and it became a big movement where I think she kind of opened that door for other celebrities later on in the future to feel more comfortable fighting back when they were body shamed. So kudos to Tyra for that.
Exactly. I agree. So we know body shaming was going on late 90s, early 2000s. Another thing, this is probably a favorite topic for the three of us. So our listeners are going to be like, where is this coming from? But y'all, we are all about uncovering like these people who can't really sing and who, let other people sing on the track and they just lip sync. Like, we're all about this. And so I feel like Jordan, or was it you, Dice? I can't remember which one of y'all did like the most research on this, but I cannot even take credit for like everything that we've uncovered.
I think Dice and I like both went down the rabbit hole, but I'm not gonna lie. When I got into it, I became the damn doctor expert on this situation because I was just so appalled by what I was reading, and I mean, I was angry, and honestly, I was like, I'm finna stop listening to this girl because I mean, she doesn't deserve it. Not,
Mm-hmm.
it's hard, but it's like she doesn't deserve it, and this is somebody who I do feel like at the end of the day is pretty unproblematic. So, there was I don't know, it's just weird. It's weird.
Well, let's not keep
So
them in suspense any
I know,
longer.
I know. So J-Lo is who we're talking about. For those who are probably like, what? We're talking about J-Lo. So J-Lo can't sing. I'm gonna just go ahead and make that declarative statement. Because it's proven by fact. We are not just pulling this out of our own behinds. It's not just our own opinion. J-Lo cannot sing. And this came about because Meagan, going back to Mariah Carey, brought up glitter one day, and she was talking about the glitter era, the movie Glitter that Mariah Carey, directed, or I don't even know. She didn't direct
She
it, but she had a
starred.
hand.
That's
She starred in it,
funny.
and well, she starred in it, and then like she had a big, I think like a big creative hand in it,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, but nonetheless, Glitter. And so Meagan kept saying the glitter era, and I was like, what is she talking about with glitter era? And so I did some research and I looked it up and I came across like the big fiasco about Mariah Carey and her ex-husband and just why we saw her have that um breakdown on TRL when Carson Daly was like, Mariah Carey's going crazy on TRL or on live TV right now. She came in with the ice cream pops and stuff. But yeah, so I was like, what's going on? Long story short, please go look up those videos if you want to know about the Mariah Carey part. But her husband or her ex-husband, what's his name? Like,
Tommy
I don't know.
Mottola, I think. Tommy
Yeah,
Mottola.
Tommy Mottola, who was like the vice president of Universal Records, I think. He had gotten a new artist, and that new artist was the one and only Jennifer Lopez, and he was trying to push her on the community at the same time that Mariah Carey was trying to put out not only her Glitter movie but the Glitter soundtrack.
Hmm.
And so basically everything or every little trick up her sleeve that Mariah Carey had for that Glitter soundtrack, Tommy was getting wind of it and putting out something very similar, if not, exactly like the Mariah Carey version with J-Lo. And so that's how we ended up getting the both I'm Reals, the original one and the one with her and Ja Rule, and then a couple of her other songs. And so as we go into her other songs, I think the biggest thing that we found out was the fact that J-Lo wasn't even singing these songs. So not only was like Tommy stealing ideas from Mariah Carey, at least for me, they were also like stealing voices of other people. And some of these, like we already know, like on the I'm Real with Ja Rule, for example, everybody knows that that's Ashanti's voice on the hook, you know? But that's because Ashanti wrote the song and then they just left her voice from the demo on the released track. But then there's other songs like Play, where she kept Christina Milian's voice on the hook. And that's because Christina Milian wrote the song. So she just kept the voice from the demo on the release track. And then there's some other songs like Waiting for Tonight, which was recorded by a group called Third Party. And then once again, she just kept the vocals from the original version. And I think she sampled that song. So what they would do is they would keep the vocals from either sampled songs or demos. And then J-Lo would either like mouth over it in the video. And then, you know, just fool a completely gullible group of people and they're thinking, well, damn, this is J-Lo singing, you know, never noticing that she sounded different on everything. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, ooh, we like this song right here. But funny story about this Waiting for Tonight one. So that like the original song actually was posed to her first and they wanted her to record it and J-Lo was like, no, I'm not really feeling the song. So then that group Third Party got the song and then after they recorded it, J-Lo was like, nah, let me get that back. Like, let me get that back. I want to do my version now. Which I thought was so stupid. Like she literally waited for them to do the work and then was like, okay, I'll take it back now.
We all know why she waited too.
Because she couldn't do it.
Exactly.
She could not do it. Like
exactly. She ain't stupid. She was like, oh, y'all go ahead, let these little girls do it real quick and send it back my way.
Yeah, like I mean, J-Lo was slimy for that. And I mean, we could talk about what the industry's intentions were in allowing her to do that. Obviously, you know, colorism, the fact that she was Latino or Hispanic, you know, that would definitely be one of the bigger selling points as to why they rather just keep her in the video and use all these other random people's voices and just allow her to sing over it. But that just really made me look at J-Lo some type of way to know that she knew that was going on and to rob not necessarily the Christina Milians and the Ashantis of their career, because clearly they still got their, you know, shine and they still found success in other ways. But for other people like Third Party and Natasha Ramos, which was one girl they used a lot. They used her a lot because she actually sounded like J-Lo.
Mm-hmm.
And
but
better, yeah. Which is, you know, not a hard thing to do, but and they used another young lady's voice a lot and a lot of little known songwriters, like, you know, just people who wrote songs and made demos and then they just kept their voices on it. I think that's really messed up that, you know, J-Lo was just so cool with robbing people of, you know, potential spotlight and, you know, not necessarily always giving them that credit. And Natasha Ramos, I even read where they like blackballed her out of the industry. So then she had a hard time trying to go solo and make a name for herself because they didn't want it to be known like, hey, that's the same voice that I hear on J-Lo songs, you know, like they didn't want her to get her due time. So I, for those reasons, cannot even bang with J-Lo or look at her the same, which sucks, like I said, because I do feel like she's unproblematic, just kind of, you know, minds her business, tends to her kids and her man. But knowing that that's how she found her fame and her success, I can't get with it if you didn't own it or at least give credit. I mean, she could always come out now and be like, look, I got a confession, because who gonna take her money from her now, you know? But that's just kind of messed up, and I was really shocked to see that whole lip singing and stealing, just vocal stealing, was so big from this one artist in particular, and I'm sure countless others. But J-Lo was the one that
I think to tie up the J-Lo thing, because, you know, she did lose out on one major hit song, which is worth mentioning. And that was from the talented artist A. Marie, who, you know, kind of came and went. But nevertheless, she did have a big hit song, you know, the One Thing song, which was very popular, had that big band sort of sound to it. It was very unique. But when A. Marie recorded it, long story short, the studio told her they didn't like it, wasn't going to sell, trash it, basically. Somehow J-Lo had gotten wind of it, heard it, and wanted it. And so once A. Marie and her team found out that J-Lo wanted the song, they went ahead and leaked it. So that A. Marie. So anyway, you know, karma is nothing to play with. So, you know, A. Marie definitely got that song, and they did try to, you know, get her back with that. What was that little raggedy song J-Lo had that we all was like, no? What's that little dance song she tried to come out with after that?
Child, I don't know.
It was Get Right.
Get Right. So J-Lo tried it with Get Right, but it didn't work out.
Oh, so. I didn't like that song.
But never mind.
But the
Yeah.
funny story about that song, I know we're trying to wrap up J-Lo, but I'm telling y'all it's so interesting. So that song was actually an unreleased song from Usher's Confessions 2 album, I think, or either the first one. It was one of them. It was whichever one made the biggest splash. That was one of the unreleased songs from that album. And because J-Lo couldn't get A. Marie's One Thing, she wanted a song with that same sound. And so whoever the people were, like Tommy Mottola or like obviously the lawyers from the respective labels, they bought the song, the unreleased version of Usher's song, and then that's what J-Lo obviously used to make the Get Right. But Usher didn't know that they had bought the song. So he actually like made some statements and he was like, I'm not necessarily sure how she got the song, but all I know is that I better get paid. You know what I'm saying? Because according to him, he did not approve.
Yeah, child. I don't know. These people scheme out here. I don't have many opinions on J Lo thing. I think it's just perfect example of how Black women do your research and learn how to protect yourself or get your mama to be a manager, something. Because clearly, all these people who were singing these songs for her had no idea how to protect themselves from having their
Right.
voices, stolen like that.
Mhm.
Which does kind of lead into another thing that we noticed goes on, or excuse me, went on within pop culture in the late 90s and early 2000s, which was colorism. I know we discussed this, I feel like, so much in the Black community, the light skin versus dark skin conversation, pitting ourselves against one another. And there are so many examples out there. We could probably talk about this for days, but we can kick it off with who I know Dice felt like this person at one point was deemed like kind of the it girl in Hollywood amongst Black people and white people as a
Mhm.
representation. So, Dice, you want to talk a little bit about Miss
Yeah.
Berry?
Ooh, talk about throwback. Um, yeah, so Halle Berry in the 90s, especially like I think the late 90s, early 2000s, was the it girl. To me, there was no other Black actress that got as much prominence as she did during that time. And obviously, Halle Berry is biracial. I do think her features are more Black, but she is biracial. But one thing about Halle Berry is she has never identified as anything other than Black, to my knowledge. I think it has come out her mouth on several occasions that she considers herself to be a Black woman. And I think Hollywood liked her because obviously she's a very pretty lady. But I think the light skin thing is what played the biggest factor in her success. And I'm not saying that she wasn't a talented actress because I do think she's a good actress. But I think there could have been any number of brown skin or dark skinned women who were trying to be actors or actresses at that time, and they couldn't get as far as her because they either didn't have the look or they didn't have the complexion that Hollywood deemed appropriate at that time.
Right.
So, obviously Halle Berry was super successful, but I just think she's a good example of how far at that time, especially being light skinned and cute, could get you, right?
Yeah.
So that's pretty much my little 2 cents on Halle Berry.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of examples of that, though. I mean, and these are all people that I like, but I just have to be honest. Like, when I think about it, like Cassie, I mean, it's a perfect example, being light skinned and cute. She really can't sing.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
No,
Don't
I'm
do that
doing
to
it
me and
because
you.
it's the
Don't,
truth. I'm doing
don't,
it because
don't
it's the
do
truth.
that to me and you.
I don't care.
Cassie can model too, okay?
I don't care. There are a lot of girls out there who are pretty who will never get the opportunity to do the things that she's gotten the opportunity to do,
Amen.
all because
Very
they
true.
don't look like her. So
Amen.
Very
I don't
true.
care. But she can't sing. Even though we talked about how she was ripped off earlier, Christina Milian really can't sing. I mean, but she's pretty.
Wow.
But she's pretty.
I
So
mean, she can
people
sing
know
better
her
than J
name.
Lo. So
And I mean, I kind
No,
of feel like, well, oh no, I do
no,
feel like she can sing better than J-Lo. I mean, now,
yeah,
is her voice all that? No, but can
no,
she at least carry a tone? I mean, a tune, yeah.
yeah,
But I also feel like too, their careers only went but so far. Like, yeah, Cassie had a few singles. Now, Christina Milian, I mean, she had "Dip It Low." if we talk about singles, you know what
Oh
I'm
my
saying?
god.
Like, I mean, that's about it. But I feel like for them, it's always been the men they were attached to. So
Yes.
Christina
Yeah.
Milian had Nick Cannon at that time. Then she had Lil Wayne. Then she had The Dream. You know what I'm saying? And then Cassie had Diddy. You know, like it's just always been the men that they were attached to. I
Which did
feel.
nothing for
It's
her
thank
career.
you, thank you. That's how they got their opportunities. So, like, I mean, because Cassie was modeling for what Ciroc and any other thing Diddy had going on. You know, like they've always had opportunities attached
Yes.
to their
But they
men, not necessarily
still
on their own.
they
But
still
my
got
whole point,
further. They still got further than the average dark skinned girl would have gotten trying to pursue the same career
and
fields.
that's what I'm saying, is at the end of
And
the day, the fact that they were cute and light skinned is
yes,
what got their
it
foot in
helped
the
them.
door. And so I only
And
said
I
that to say
think
because you were saying like there were many of people who could have easily like been, I guess, Halle Berry's status or whatever. And it made me think about how like, well, that still goes on. Like that's not even, necessarily pertinent just to late 90s, early
no.
2000s. That's still
It's just
going
the fact
on.
that she was like the main, the main chick.
Yeah.
you know, she was like the
At least
main chick.
Halle had talent too, though. But I'm
Yeah.
just, playing devil's advocate.
But speaking
Yeah.
of the whole like girl groups and singing and all that stuff, I think it's important to mention 3LW because we all grew up with them, and I was a big fan when I was a little teenager, a tween, or whatever you want to call it. I don't know. I
Not
might have
a
been
tween.
I might have been 10. I can't even remember, but I was young when they came out. But nevertheless, not to ramble. I know y'all should all remember Notori. If you don't know her from 3LW, then you definitely know her from Power. She did play, Ghost scorned lover, the scorned wife,
A
ex-wife,
fool.
whatever you want to call her. But anyways, when she was in 3LW, there was issues with colorism because she blatantly said that those in charge, management, told her that she needed to stay towards the back whenever they did like performances or music videos because dark skinned girls, this is a quote, dark skinned girls weren't as marketable as Latina and light skinned women, end quote. So,
Mm-hmm.
you'll have to keep in mind that 3LW, they were all really young, and Notori was only like 15, I think, when the group got started. And by the time she gave this interview, she was 18, where she was talking about the whole being pushed to the back thing. So at that age, she didn't really realize like how wrong it was, I think. I think she just was kind of like going with whatever they told her to do because she wanted to sing. And she said
Right.
that was of the most importance to her. But I just think it's interesting how, we talked about J Lo earlier. J Lo was the it girl for the Latina community at that time,
Mm-hmm.
and they as a group they wanted Adrian to basically be a young J Lo, and just threw Keely in the mix because she was light skinned.
Right.
And so
Exactly.
unfortunately, the Tory got pushed aside, and there's a lot of drama behind their whole story. But I just think it's just interesting that it shows you again the mindset of the time was light skin first by all means necessary, and everybody
Mm-hmm.
else is an afterthought.
Yeah, and I know there are a lot of people who have the whole theory in their mind that the reason we go after light skin or try to put the light skin people at the front is because it's what's closest to white, and I ain't getting into all that because I don't think that everybody thinks like that, quite frankly. But I mean, yeah, no, I can 100% see that being the story. At the end of the day, they weren't lying at that time. I mean, that's what they were marketing was
Yes.
light-skinned women, Latino women, mixed women, whatever. I mean, that's what they were
Mm-hmm.
marketing. And
Exactly.
her look unfortunately was not, seen as sexy or desirable or whatever it is they were trying to market these 15 and 16-year-old girls as. Her
Right.
look her look
Right.
didn't have it. So that, I mean, nothing about that shocks me. It's always kind of been that way, and to some extent still is, which we'll
Mm-hmm.
get into, but that doesn't shock me. Another big one is shout out to Aunt Viv, light skin Aunt Viv versus dark skin Aunt Viv. That's a big one. People
Mm-hmm.
got big mad about the fact that, okay, I understand you fell out with Will, so you got fired. But when they recast her role for them to put a completely different complexion woman in the role just was like, dang. So that's how y'all feel? Like, not only did you just recast someone that your audience has, grown to love, because by that time Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was established, but you went lighter. Like, I know a lot of people still feel some type of way about that.
Oh yeah, that was a
And
huge
I
deal.
and I know a lot of people talk about like just their personalities too. Some people draw the differences between that. So like dark skin Viv was a lot feistier, like she
Mhm.
had a bigger voice. Whereas light skin Aunt Viv was a little bit more, meek and calm and go with the flow. So I don't know.
A little more
Yeah.
prim and proper.
And I'm glad you brought that up, Jordan, because that seemed to be a theme in a lot of shows in the 90s, early 2000s, where the light skinned character was seen as more prim, more proper, and the dark skinned character was loud, boisterous,
Yeah.
doing the most. So the
Yeah.
same can be said about Pam and Gina and Martin. There are obvious parallels, and even in the way that Martin would tease Pam. Like, obviously, Martin was a big jokester, so he teased everybody. But the jokes about Pam in particular were a little bit more egregious. He would call Pam a beast and nappy headed, tell her how she can't get a man, blah, 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 blah. So it's like, yeah, at the time, I'm sure it was funny. But when you look at it now, it's like, okay, the worst that Gina usually got was what, a big head? Like, so like comparing the two, it was a bit extreme. Also, and I didn't realize this until I did research, but even for our generation where we had the Proud family and you had Penny and Dejanay. So obviously Penny was light skinned, Dejanay was dark skinned, and there were huge parallels in the characters where Penny, she seemed to come from a pretty well to do family, had a nice house. She was
Mm-hmm.
again prim and proper, she was smart or whatever. Dejanay, they made that girl loud, ghetto,
Ghetto.
5, 6 kids, like siblings or whatever, come from this huge family or whatever, like no manners, can't get a man, always chasing somebody who don't want her, sticky or whatever. And so it's like, yeah, they did it even in the cartoons. They
Yeah.
did the same thing.
And I think, like, I'll say this. I think that when people come up with these concepts in these shows, I think the idea, I'll just give them a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. I think the idea behind it is to show that, like, it's all different people, all different backgrounds coming together in friendship and family or whatever. But where they consistently go wrong is, like we said with pointing it out, like, why does it always have to be the dark skinned person that's coming from the less fortunate background? Or why is it always the dark skinned person that has to be, the heavy friend? Or why is it the heavy friend that always has to be the one that can't get a man? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's nothing wrong with showing different dynamics, different personalities, different backgrounds on a TV show. I just don't like how it's consistently the same type of person that has to be in that, I don't know, I guess in that negative role, so to speak.
Yep. No, I agree.
And I will say, side note about Martin, my opinion might be a little bit controversial, and that's all right. But I ain't going for that. I feel like Martin and Pam, like, they had a very, I don't know, and I don't know Martin Lawrence personally, so I could be way wrong. And so if somebody could find the receipts, y'all just let me know. But I just feel like that's the way that it was written. Like, I feel like if Gina and Pam, like, I feel like if Tisha and Lord, what's the name? Y'all know who I'm saying. I feel like if they would have swapped roles, I don't think that the dynamic of what that relationship between Martin and Pam would have changed. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that just was the way that it was written, and that's who Tashina Arnold. I'm sorry, I had to think of her name. I think that's just the way that it was written, and that's the dynamic that he wanted for those two characters. Like, he had some harsh jokes for her, but she had equally harsh ones for him. And I don't think that was a dark skin, light skin thing. I think there was meant to constantly be banter between those two characters, and that's what we got.
I think some of what you're saying is accurate. The only really call out I have is that supposedly a lot of it was off the cuff and was not written. So a lot of like
Okay.
Martin's jokes were just random jokes. So that's why I think some people will feel like, okay, well, why is your random jokes about Pam this way, but your random jokes about Gina are totally different. So just something to keep in mind. But I do think Meg, you had a good point. It could have easily been that's how they were. It's possible, but we'll never really know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, what about now I didn't really watch this show like that. I didn't told y'all that, but my wife and kids, my fiance loves that show. So I feel like he should almost have a mic up in here next to me, like given the dynamics. But my wife and kids, they started off with the dark skin Claire, and then didn't one random episode, it was just like, oh boom, she's taller, she's a little bit more weight to her, she's light skinned, she's curly hair. Like, didn't they completely flip the script,
Yes.
or how
And
did
I
that go
don't know
down?
why they changed it. It was weird because I didn't find like direct information on why. It almost kind of sounded like the original Claire either couldn't do it anymore or didn't want to do it anymore. And so they ended up basically replacing her. But I mean, even if that's the case, it's like, why didn't y'all replace her with somebody who looked similar? You
Yeah.
know, like why did y'all choose this light skinned girl with curly hair? It was just weird.
Yep, yep. So, I mean, besides colorism that we saw in the late 90s, early thousands, I think there were some other things that we saw going on with cultural appropriation.
Yes.
And some of our beloved pop stars from, the lighter side of the color spectrum. One
The
being
white side.
the white side, yeah, light, close to transparent. But that would be Gwen Stefani, and I found this to be very interesting because I love me some luxurious and Harajuku Barbie. Oh no, wait, that's Nicki Minaj. Harajuku girl, Harajuku girl. Bananas was the song of middle school for me. We were all singing Bananas. That was everybody's ringtone.
Yeah.
So I personally kind of like, well, I think I have an unpopular opinion with Gwen Stefani because I would like to know what is the line between cultural appropriation and cultural appreciation. And for
Hmm.
Gwen Stefani,
Mhm.
because I personally don't feel like she was ever trying to market these styles as her own or as if she was introducing something to someone. To me, she always used like for her Harajuku girl series, all of her Asians, all of her backup dancers were Asians. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of feel like she always made a point to have some type of, I guess, member of the community that she might be using in her videos whenever she was doing it. So I personally don't think Gwen Stefani was appropriating. I feel like she was just, trying to express herself through different styles. But I guess I can see where other people would get offended. But I would like to know the line. I would like to know when somebody crosses it and what we consider to be offensive in appreciation.
I think that's a
Frankly,
good point.
I don't even know if we as Black people, especially when it comes to our culture and the culture vultures that have come for us, I don't even know if we as Black people know what that line is. I think it's one thing. Like I know some people argue that Bruno Mars was a culture vulture. If we're speaking in today's times. I don't really see him as a culture vulture, but I also acknowledge the fact that, like Jordan said with Gwen Stefani, she had the Asian dancers. Okay, Bruno Mars had all Black backup singers. So it would have been more offensive to me if he had said, "Let me just hire a bunch of like random white men to sing backup vocals." But he did not do that. And so
Yeah.
to me, I was like, and he's also a minority himself. So I was like, no, he's not Black. I get that, but he is still a minority. And so I guess for me personally, I didn't look at it as he was trying to like rob us of any of our culture. However, I did question if any other Black male singer would have come out with those same kind of songs at that same time, would they have gotten that far? You know,
If they sounded good, I think, yeah. I
I don't
mean,
know.
I think it's just about, at the end of the day, like for whatever reason with men, it's a lot easier. And if you're semi attractive and the track sounds good, like you're probably in there, right? I mean, they make it easier for men, but I didn't know that people consider him a culture vulture, honey, because
Hmm.
Versace on the floor ain't coming off my phone. So
Right.
Yeah,
y'all
Yeah.
yeah,
can keep that one.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I ain't
so
taking
I
that
don't know
off
what the
my
line
phone.
is. Another controversial one is Justin Timberlake, and he's controversial now, just like he was then. For appropriating Black culture, quote unquote. Depending on how you look at it, I personally was always a fan of Justin, and I liked him even more when he left NSYNC and started doing his own
Same.
thing.
Yeah,
You
me
know,
too. The
so
only
I
reason
don't
I'm
know.
mad, I think the only reason I'm mad at Justin Timberlake is because he ain't married no Black woman yet. I mean, other than that, I'm not upset by anything Justin has done yet.
Yeah, but
Dang,
there were
I
people.
like Jessica Biel.
to play devil's
I mean,
advocate.
she cool, but she ain't black, and I just kind of feel like Justin needs a sister in his life. So, holla
Well,
at me.
they claim he was messing with that one girl. We're not gonna do that
Oh
today.
yeah, 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 yeah. Oh wait, are they still married? Is it like are him and
Yeah,
Jessica Biel still married? Dang,
They
they
just had
worked
a
that out.
yeah,
baby, I think. They just had their second
yeah.
baby.
They're still married.
Oh crap.
But to play devil's advocate, people do not like Justin. Some people consider him a culture vulture because they feel like he has, basically thrown himself into the R&B world and has taken over and made it seem like, this is his music, this is how he is, et cetera, et cetera. Now, I think that Justin probably always had an interest in doing R&B music, but I think,
Mm-hmm.
his career clearly in the beginning did not allow for that. So it's possible, but that's just one more example of potential culture vulture.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. I feel like with Justin Timberlake, not to like hang up on him too long, but I kind of feel like he also just kind of has one sound, and I can't even explain it off the top of my head, but I'm saying this to say he's not somebody who continually like keeps up with the ever evolving sound of R&B or what black people are listening to. He has his one little sound that he does with him and Timberlake or him and Missy, and they put that out on everything that Justin touches. It's like, to me, it's got a little bit of poppiness into it as well, but it's definitely like just a sound, I think, and maybe
Right.
because it has more like, I don't know,
And I
instruments
just
or
thought
use
about
of
this
whatever.
too,
But
but he had issues because I remember when Black Lives Matter movement first started, he was not on board, and I remember he had tweeted something about all lives matter, and so I think people came at him. Yeah, I think people came at him for that. But I know with the recent events, since everybody's on the Black Lives Matter team for the most part now, years later, I know he did post like the black tile on Instagram and say Black Lives Matter. So I guess he must have finally gotten what was happening out here in the world. But yeah, that's one random side note.
Oh
he said,
yeah,
here y'all go. Here go this black tab, Black Lives
he's
Matter.
got it
Now leave me
now.
alone.
I was just
Leave me
about to
alone
say
now.
that.
And they
Oh
go make this
man.
music.
I
Okay,
think we should talk
so
about what's happening today
Yeah.
versus then.
So talking about body shaming and how we look at bodies now, we can go into the Kardashians. Kim being the first one to be praised for her curvaceous fake figure.
right.
Um, and then her little sister.
Even before it was fake though.
Yeah.
Like, we gotta look at when it started. We talked about how, okay, you had Mariah Carey, who do we say, Alicia Silverstone, Drew
Mhm.
Barrymore, Tyra Banks, back in the day being shamed for just naturally being the way that they were. And then we fast forward to some time later, and Kim Kardashian is praised. She was being praised for that body long before she got surgery. But it's like, as she continued to get surgery, it was like, oh, the butt is okay. Oh, the curves are okay. Oh, yeah, we want just a little bit of extra the thigh meat or whatever.
So I got a question then. If Okay, and I really don't know. So was her butt real at the beginning of the TV shows? Because I thought it was fake. Like I thought she had. Okay, I don't know. Okay, I'm talking a lot. But do y'all remember that episode when they went to the plastic surgeon or to the doctor or something, and then they did X-rays? They were like, "See, Kim's butt it isn't fake. It's real because if it was fake, it would have had implants in it, and you didn't see the implants on the X-ray." But I just figured they were on to that injection type stuff way before we even knew what it was. So I was under the impression that Kim's butt was always fake for the most part. Like as soon as we started attaching Kim Kardashian to the white or light skinned chick with the big booty, I always thought it was fake. And then they just never told the truth because they do that a lot. Like Kylie still ain't admitted to her lip injections to this day. You know what I'm saying? So I thought they just weren't telling us that she had gotten surgery. So are y'all trying to say
Mm-mm.
that that body was real and now this body now is fake?
At some point in time, and oddly enough, the person to tell me this was my mother, and she doesn't care a thing about the Kardashians. But at some point in time, like before people knew their name, I don't know how she knew this, but I remember her telling me way back when that like she always was the just naturally a lot curvier than the rest of them. And so I'm not saying every ounce of her is real, obviously, but no, to some extent, at some point before they got all that money and people knew their names, she has always had like some curves and somewhat of a butt. Not to make y'all listen to us talk about Kim K, but I'm
Yeah.
just saying, like, she's praised for her fake body, but it really started really back when they started realizing who she was like, oh yeah, we like that girl with some curves. But then I think you said, Jordan, I think you were leading into how like Serena Williams, critiqued for being too muscular.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, she's is another great example also of colorism,
I mean,
where,
she's a professional athlete. Why would
yeah.
she not be muscular?
And you know what
Exactly.
that goes into too, like her advertisements, because y'all notice like Serena, yes, she's done some ads like for Nike and stuff like that, but she didn't get to do as much as that white girl got to do, who was like not even,
Sharapova.
yes, that one, who was basically trying to rig the game, because wasn't she like doing some steroids or something trying to beat Serena? Anyways, that was a mess.
That's
Hmm.
sad.
But she was a great example of colorism and body shaming, because they put Sharapova quickly on everything, everywhere, constantly. She was the white girl. They thought she was cute. She had the body. She had the look. They wanted her everywhere, even though she was not nearly even half or a quarter of the athlete that Serena was. But because Serena was black, she's dark skinned, she was thicker, whatever else, they didn't want her because they didn't want her on their ads. It's just, y'all, hot mess.
Ridiculous. And then
Mhm.
who else has a lot of body shaming today for being pretty much the opposite of what they claimed they didn't like? Kelly Clarkson, Demi Lovato, both of them are two women who, you know how some people just naturally, like when they are up, they're up, and when they're down weight wise. And they're
Mhm.
two, and I mean, I can relate to that, to like how easy it is
Mhm.
to gain and to lose. And they both have those body types. Like when they gain, they gain, but when they lose. And they've been under so much scrutiny about that. And it's just, it's just nasty. And I think it's really warped how we decide, like, okay, yeah, it's okay to have a little bit of extra, a little bit extra around the stomach area and the big butt, big boobs. But then, you have someone, like I said, Demi Lovato, Kelly Clarkson gains a little bit of weight. Oh, they let themselves go. Like, it's just, I don't know. I can't deal with
Yeah.
the inconsistencies, in people's judgment. And I think it's really
It's really none
nasty.
of our business. Like
Yeah,
what them
that
people got
too.
going on with their
Mhm.
bodies, as long as they keep doing what we like them to do, and that's sing, act, and dance, and I don't know, play tennis. I mean, what does it matter?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
look how you want to look.
It's just
Yeah.
nasty, I think, in general,
Yeah.
to body shame people the way that unfortunately the world does. Now, in terms of, we went over some lip singing, but we don't have no today news on that for y'all. We all kind of feel
If y'all
like,
know somebody though, if you know
yeah,
somebody, drop it in the
drop it
comments or
in the
something.
comments.
Yeah, because we
DM
don't know
us and
anybody.
let us know. But we all feel like if people are still out here stealing vocals, that it's a lot more under wraps than it was back in the day. Um, we talked about culture vultures, the comparison. We definitely need to get into the comparison of the 90s versus now. I feel like we talked to y'all about Justin Timberlake. Who's another example? Katy Perry. Anytime a black person is getting hot on the track, she makes sure to get her feature real quick so she can say she's in with them.
Mm. Yep, and not only that, but like Katy Perry, I think she has even tried to imitate, black styles, black hairstyles, things like that, and it's been blatant imitation. It's not like, oh, I just happen to like that style. You can tell she is trying to imitate a culture or a cultural look, and she
Katy
came under fire for that.
Katy Perry just hits me as one of those white people who just chooses to be like blatantly unaware of her own
Hmm.
ignorance of
Yep.
just other cultures, like not even the black culture, but just other cultures and her cultural appropriation. Like, I feel like she knows that what she does is wrong, but all it takes is like two people on her team to be like, oh, but no, girl, you're good. You're good. We're good. We're good. She's like, oh, okay. And then they just go with it. And I just don't like Katie. I really just don't care for her. I don't know what it is about her. Happy for her and her baby though, but I just don't really care for Katy Perry.
Yeah, and honestly, she's not really worth going on and on about. But yeah, culture
Mm-mm.
vulture. Miley Cyrus. This one is interesting because we have at least two Miley Cyrus fans on here.
One,
Ooh,
I'm
she
one, I'm one.
she and
I love that again.
how you knew we wanted them to know that. You didn't have to do it like that.
Anyway, yeah,
You can
I'm
call me
gonna
by
call it out
name.
to the carpet because I am not a Miley Cyrus fan. Never have been. Never
Well,
will be.
let
But
me let me
no,
rephrase.
no,
I'm a
no.
Vegas fan.
Let me tell y'all, and that's the problematic part to me, is that as Black people, we allow white people to come in, rip our culture, rip our songs, and we jam out to it, praise it, love it, and then act surprised when they no longer want anything to do with us and turn around and tear our music down. So I don't like Miley for that reason. I knew Miley was just using us for some clout because she wanted to have her quote unquote bad girl movement. Anytime they want to be a bad girl, they're going to go to the Black side, which is a problem within itself. And Black people sat right there and boosted her head up. And then what did she turn around and do?
She went
Okay.
back to her country music. But let me
And
say
she
this.
talked poorly about Black music. So y'all go right ahead.
Let me just say this to my own defense. I was not surprised when when Miley went back to her country music. And if you watch some of the videos and interviews that she did now, you're right, Dice. She was just trying to go through a bad girl phase, which I always feel like she was try hard when she was doing it, but you cannot deny that Bangers album. However, I also noticed that she was going through things in her personal life too, because she was married or
That's
like
what I was
dating or
gonna say.
engaged to Liam, and then when she went through her bangers phase, they were on a break, and then once she, snapped out of that bangers phase, then she was right back with him. And I felt like you could always tell, but that's not the true Miley. Like when she got back with him after her whole bad girl break, to me, I was like, there's still like a difference in their personalities. And as you can see, their relationship still didn't last. And she still is making, random and wild and, I don't know, in my opinion, like ill-informed decisions sometimes. Like, and if you look at who she's dated since him, it's just like, okay, well, Miley, like, what are you doing? But she's happy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's kind of feel like that wasn't necessarily a bad girl break. I think that was just Miley for real, finding herself and being like, well, I think this is how I want to do it. And then realizing, okay, well, I'm not quite hip hop, but I'm somewhere in between. Like I do enjoy country music because I feel like her voice sounds amazing when she sings country songs, but I'm not just country Miley either. Like I'm somewhere in between the two. And she was just
Yeah.
going through a journey trying to find that. But
And
that's to
I
my
will say,
defense.
and Jordan can attest to this because you like Bangers as well. But Bangers
Do.
was not like a hip hop album.
Mm-mm.
It wasn't at all. She had that. I think what did it for people is she had that one single, the J's on my feet or whatever. They put her on the track. And then the twerking thing with Robin Thicke. I don't really know what happened with that. But
Yeah, oh yeah, that was trifling.
but she had really, I mean, it's not like she tried to go full blown hip hop. And I think that when she made her comments about like I'm definitely not taking up for her because at the end of the day, Miley Cyrus don't need me to defend her on any level. But I do think that when she made her comments about like regrets that she had, I know I kind of took it as like it's some stuff that she did that she knew wasn't her, and she wishes that she would not have done that just to try to, I don't know, get to wherever she was trying to get. But I was going to go on the tip that Jordan was on was like, I think anyone who was a Miley Cyrus fan pre-bangers could clearly see that like she was in some heavy pain because I don't think she thought that breakup was going to come. And so I do think that sometimes people just act out of character and do things that they never would have done before when they're going through a tough time. But I do agree with you, Dice. I mean, I do think people have a tendency to try to seem, just whatever it is that they associate with, oh, I'm going through my wild phase. And I'll play devil's advocate a little bit. They don't always necessarily go to hip hop and R&B. Sometimes they try to get all emo when they're like, oh, I'm going through it, and like cross over into the heavy metal rock genre that also wants nothing to do with them because they don't know the craft. But I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know. To each his own with the whole Miley thing. Now I don't know how I feel about another one people be claiming, Ariana Grande.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that one.
I'm not, I mean, don't get me wrong. I think Ariana Grande is talented. She can definitely sing. I'm not going to debate that. I think the issue people have taken with her, and this is not my opinion, this is just stuff I've read because frankly, I don't listen to Ariana enough to really have a formal opinion or follow her. But you're playing devil's advocate here. Basically, people feel like she's a fraud because, she tries to act as if she is of a different race. So
Mhm.
she is Italian, but I think when she first came out, people thought she was Spanish. which you could argue maybe those are similar. I don't know. And I'm not trying to put words in anybody's mouth, especially not my own. But the bottom line is people were confused about her identity. And then also people feel like, similar to how some people feel about the Kardashians, that she tries to rob black culture. So it's like, oh, I'm going to do my nails the way they do their nails. I'm going to, lay my edges the way that they lay their edges or whatever. You know what I'm saying? It could be anything. But I think people feel like she has dabbled in that whole culture vulture thing by taking from black cultures or other cultures and trying to make it her own.
Right, right.
I feel like the issue with Ariana Grande is a people problem, not an Ariana problem. From what you've just said, it sounds like they just misidentified her. Doesn't sound like Ari was trying to be misidentified, but that's just me.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll never know.
I think she's been very forthcoming about who she is and what she wants. I mean, from day one she's been, in my eyes, like kind of almost like another Christina Aguilera, so to speak. Like from day one she's been that white girl that loved R&B music and could blow. Um
Well, I guess we were never like. Well, I guess I wasn't confused about Christina's identity because we always knew like
well,
she was
Christina not
half
as
white,
tan.
half Spanish. You know?
Christina ain't tan, and I think that's where
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
honestly that's what it is. It's because Ariana's got a little bit of a tan, and it's like, okay, Grande, where's that last name coming from? It's open
Mm-hmm.
for interpretation, and I guess because she doesn't sit in interviews or whatever and say, oh, this is everything I am. A lot of people feel like, well, what is she? Is she biting off of this culture? Is she biting off of that
Yeah,
culture? And
that's
I
true.
think that sometimes ignorance is bliss, but I do think that for a long time she probably looked at it in a sense of to where, oh, why does that matter? I'm just trying to make music. And a lot of these
Probably.
artists don't understand, like, nah, you better clear that up because to some people it matters.
Well, to wrap up the culture vultures of today, the biggest shift that I have noticed from back then to now is that now, like, black people are under attack.
Right.
Versus in the past, I feel like black people weren't, but I mean, I don't know if we were doing so much culturing and vulturing either, but now they claim that, black people are culture vultures. One example, real quick, is Pharrell Williams. They accused him. This was like I think 2014. I know it was a while back, but he wore a native headdress on the cover of a magazine, and that did not go well. And
Mm-hmm.
from what I read, he did not make the decision to put that headdress on. He actually had on that other hat that he likes to wear all the time, that weird looking hat.
That
Yes,
Smokey Bear detective
yes.
ass head.
He actually had that on, but they decided, like, I guess the powers that be in the magazine felt like it was going to be a better look if he had on the native headdress, and he just went along with it, unfortunately. And
Mm-hmm.
so, there was some backlash, but yeah, that's one example. Another more pertinent example is, I'm personally offended by this, is Beyonce. I love
What?
Beyonce. I don't care what nobody says, but nevertheless, the playing devil's advocate here, they feel as if she appropriates African culture in Black is King. And they also accused her of appropriating Indian culture in that Coldplay video. So I would love to hear y'all's thoughts on that because y'all know I don't agree with any of it.
Man, ain't no Beyonce slander in this house, okay?
Yeah, I
So
mean, both of those projects were amazing. Don't really know what they're talking about. It's kind of like enough said on that. Beyonce did no such. So
Yeah, it's
and
weird because I've seen it to where, especially when Black Panther came around, a lot of African Americans or Black people in America, however you want to refer to it as, was on the whole, like, let's be more proud of our heritage, let's wear more, African style clothing. And I don't know a lot of African people. I know like a couple, but they were either like super offended by Black Americans wearing African clothing, or they were like, I'm glad y'all are wearing it, but I want y'all to know what it is that y'all are wearing.
right, and I can respect that. Um, the few people I know who, and the reason I say few is because I know very few people who like grew up in their African culture. I know some people who have come to learn their roots, as I aspire to, and they try to live in that now. But the few people I know who grew up like in their African culture, who saw Black is King, thought it was amazing. Like they were happy to see um her putting that on a platform and her showing people, how beautiful everything about everything about Black people is. And so I don't really know where people coming from. I think that's kind of, I'll say this. Maybe I'm a little bit biased because I am a major stan from a girl, Queen B. But I think that we have to be careful with this because it's a dangerous thing if a black woman, black man can't pay, homage to their own African roots. I think that's way
I
too
was just
divisive.
about to
That's
say that.
way too divisive. And,
Mhm.
I just feel like you have to have some room for grace. And at the end of the day, you know, and we don't have to get that deep into it, but I just feel like it's not our fault that we grew up in America and not in Africa. Like we don't have control
Exactly.
over our lack of exposure. And yes, self-knowledge is a beautiful thing. So get your DNA test if you trust it, do your research and try to, stand more in what your history and your heritage shows that you are. But
Yes.
I don't
Yes.
think that there's anything wrong with that. Like if I learn that I'm, have some Nigerian heritage in my lineage tomorrow, I don't feel like that's right for a Nigerian person to, try to shame me from paying homage
Mhm.
to that. Like I'm learning about who
Yes.
I am. So
Yes.
we got to be
Yes.
careful with that.
And I was going to say that exact same thing, Megan. And I think that it's sad that we're so used to seeing negative depictions of African culture on TV, like poor, impoverished people, hungry children, that by the time we see someone actually show the beauty of that continent and the things to be happy about and take pride in, we think there's something wrong with that second depiction as compared to the first. I
Mhm.
think that that's the sad part,
Mm-hmm.
that we as people who are descendants of that continent have been so brainwashed in where we come from, like you said. And so it is time to get informed, and it is time to do a DNA test. And there are some black owned like DNA test companies, and I apologize because I cannot think of the name of one off the top of my head, but I do know there is one out there, and we will figure it out and like add it in the comments or something like that. But you do need to get a DNA test. And I just want to say, I know I'm Nigerian. My best friend is Nigerian. And so she always tells me every day, you're Nigerian, you're Nigerian. I know I am. Yoruba, by the way. So if she's listening, she's going to be like, all right, I taught Jordan right. Because I know where I come from.
That's fancy.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
You do the test, but all I know is Cameroonian. Off the top of my head, that was like a big one, but I don't know nothing else. But at least I know that much.
I don't know
yeah.
anything shamefully, but I
Yeah.
aspire to, and that's one of
Yeah.
my 2020 aspirations is to get that information. But I didn't
Yep.
mean to like direct us onto a tangent, but I
I think that's a
initially
good one.
felt strong because it was Beyonce, but then as I was listening to Dice, I was like, hold up, we got to get into this. But what
Yes.
about I think the last aspect we gave y'all in terms of like pop culture with 90s and 2000s was colorism, and we all know that's definitely still going on today with just the amount of black men. And it's so funny
Mhm.
because it always seems to be dark skinned black men, ironically. But like
Yeah.
they'll say, "Oh yes, I love black women," but they don't want a dark skinned woman. They want someone mixed or light skinned, or whatever. Kodak Black. It pains me to say this, but Dwayne Carter, Lil Wayne, y'all don't know this about me. I used to be so in love with Lil Wayne, like couldn't tell me nothing. But his comments and his opinions have disappointed me so as an adult. But I mean, what do y'all feel about that? Like these men who are black men who will say, "Oh yeah, I want me a black woman, just not a dark skinned woman," or "I don't really like black girls that way."
I be so sick of them men. I'm just so sick of it. Because I feel like it's a constant conversation. We're constantly giving this, attention and trying to be like or make sense of it. Shoot, at this point, ain't Kodak Black in jail? At this point, hasn't Lil Wayne just given up on black women completely? At this point, who's really, chasing behind 50 Cent if you want to throw him out there for the comments he made a few weeks ago about I want something that look like it just came off a boat. I want something
Which is just
exotic.
ignorant,
Which is
ignorant to
stupid
me.
because you
And
did come off a boat. Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. So at this point, I don't got time to give people like that attention because that's just stupid. Like that's just stupidity on their part. And child, it's plenty other men out here in this world who aren't thinking like that. So go on about your colorist thoughts. Because I ain't trying to be with you. So go on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just say I think it's just self-hate manifesting itself.
Agreed.
And I think they have not reached a level of maturity in order to say, like, let me look at myself and see why do I feel so strongly about something that's really not that serious. And so as a result, they just keep making these comments because they think they're funny. But it's like, sir,
Exactly.
you don't have to like me. You don't have to like the next girl. You can like whatever you want, but let's not disparage Black women of any complexion just because you may have some sort of preference for whatever reason. You know, I just don't see why we always have to be like the butt of the joke. And, you know, for the record, I'm a light skinned Black woman and I feel this way. Like, you know, like I feel
Yeah.
this way. And I'm just like, I don't agree with the way that they treat Black women in general, and especially dark skinned Black women. I just don't agree with it. But that's my 2 cents. So,
I'm with you. My mom
yeah.
is light skinned and she feels the same way you do. Like she doesn't understand it. She feels like she used to tell me as a kid all the time, like, oh, I love how chocolate your skin is. Like I wish I was that
Mhm.
dark. And like she doesn't understand it either, why there's so much back and forth about, oh, I need light skin over dark skin. It's just like, what?
Hmm.
Like,
All
why do y'all
silly.
do this to our people? But anyways.
Mhm.
And that's why I'm glad Beyonce made projects like Black is King. So for the young, dark skinned girls, light skinned girls, mixed girls, any girl who identifies as Black, but for whatever reason, you look in the mirror and you may feel like your skin isn't the representation or what you see on TV. I'm glad that we have people like Beyonce and projects like Black is King and songs like Brown Skin Girl to make you feel proud about however you look, but just knowing that you are Black, like that alone is what you should be proud of. Because there are a lot of people who can take that pride away from you, regardless of
Yeah.
how you look, try to pit us against each other as women or pit us against each other as a race, between light skin and dark skin, and thin and full figured, or long hair, short hair, coarse hair, soft hair. I mean,
Yeah.
however you want to do it, there's just so many ways that we can be divided, but at the end of the day, we are all Black. So
I
yeah.
just appreciate the even though, we still have colorism going on, as we said, I just appreciate the steps and strides that people who have the capacity to make changes have made, because I think for a long time that there's just such a large portion of us as Black women that felt ignored. And so it's the little things for me. Like I love that Rihanna's Fenty beauty line, has all of those shades of the foundation,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm sure so many Black women can talk about, how there were days where maybe the big companies weren't making things that could, match a darker complexion the right way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's even sparked all these other industries to where it's like, okay, you're gonna put out these shapewear things for us to buy. Okay, you got to have more than just that nude shade. Like we don't
Mm-hmm.
all look like that. Nude looks different for everyone. So I
Mm-hmm.
appreciate the small strides that we're making, and I look forward to the day to where we can get past this light skin versus dark skin thing, because
Yeah.
you know my fiance is light as dice, so telling what these kids finna look like we gonna be bringing up in here. I feel like we're gonna have one dark, one light, a little medium. We're gonna have some everything going on. So
Yeah, I don't know. My fiance light too, so Jesus, I don't know. They might be pale.
I'm about to say,
Poor
now them
baby.
kids gonna be, them kids gonna be
What do you call it? Like that orange skin tone? You know, where they be
No,
like
watch
kind
out.
of
Like, you never know
reddish.
how kids can like pull from, older generations. Cause
Mhm.
me, for example, my parents are like brown skin, my brother as well. Then I pull from my mom's mom and my dad's dad, on their side. So
true.
Mhm.
it's funny how kids, and genetics work. But that's the beauty of being Black. We're just
It
so
is.
magical. You just never know what you're going to pull out that
You
hat,
do not know what you're gonna get at
Our hair
all.
grows overnight. Our kids change colors. We all just, we just out here.
You're right. You're right.
So to wrap up, you guys, right now we don't really know exactly what the it look is. Back then in the 90s, top 2000s, it definitely seemed to be heavily focused on light skin. I feel like in the last, I don't know, 10 years or so, it's kind of been a blur. And I feel like the more racially ambiguous you are, the more successful you are going to be. Just to name off some examples, like Zendaya, she's a beautiful girl. She's obviously biracial. Um, Jason Momoa, I don't even need to go into any more detail. That man fine as
Mm.
hell. But again, racially ambiguous people where you're kind of
But
like, what
beautiful.
are they? Yeah, they're beautiful people. So I'm like, I think that's kind of like taken over today where you're seeing more and more of that. But we do have more representation, I think, in the movies as far as like the full gamut of Black people and their complexions. I don't think we have as many Black TV shows as we did in the 90s, which is kind of sad. But there's
Yeah.
that.
That
Yeah.
makes me sad. But y'all know we gotta close this thing out with some juiciness, some not your average news of things that have just been going on over the past like week and a half, 2 weeks, whatever. Um, we have Black Emmy nominations. Some goats were nominated. I know Jordan is super excited about Zendaya getting her shine.
I
That's
am.
really exciting. I know who else is nominated? Tracy Ellis Ross for her role in Blackish. We got some good stuff going on. I think Billy Porter was nominated again
Mm-hmm.
for Pose. So we got
Yes.
some good stuff going on. Make sure y'all virtually tune in for that. I don't know when it is, but I'm here for everybody who's Black, in the words of Issa Rae. This is so petty, but the ratchet side of me and Jordan had to bring this up. Jada Waiter got herself a
Jada Waiter.
Birkin, and the streets was mad. So
Big mad.
y'all don't
Still
get
mad.
mad. In the words of the current president's ex-wife, don't get mad, get everything. Y'all stop hating on that girl. Go get your money. Go get your own Birkin so you don't have to be mad at her. Okay.
Woke up to it though. She woke up to it.
Oh goodness. What else happened this week, y'all? I'm trying to think.
The Netflix black TVs are streaming on Netflix.
Black TVs, yes.
Black shows. Oh my goodness, I
Yes,
cannot get my
y'all.
words. Black shows are streaming on
The
Netflix.
Black TV shows. I'm just gonna give up on Jordan. The Black TV shows are streaming on Netflix. Moesha is currently on. It's been on since the first. The Game is on the 15th. Sister September 1st. Girlfriend September 11th. The Parkers October 1st. Half and Half October 15th. And my personal fave, One on One, is also October 15th.
Let me just
So
say,
y'all get to watching.
Jordan ain't on Twitter, so she don't know.
Don't.
But and Dice, I don't know how often you get on. But I tweeted something yesterday. I was like, Brandy can go ahead and scrap that Moesha reboot idea because it's clear that y'all hated her character. Okay, I've been seeing like, and it's probably valid criticism, but I've seen nothing but complaints as people have been watching Moesha back. Like everybody's talking about how horrible of a friend she was, how horrible of a person her character was. And I was like, we don't need to bring it back. Because if y'all gonna complain like this about rewatching it, I can only imagine what the reboot is gonna be like. So tell her just keep the idea. Because I mean, I'm all for an opinion, but I was like, dang, is there anything y'all liked about the show? Now that you're watching it back, is there anything you enjoyed? Jordan.
Hmm?
Now I heard this, but I don't know, so you're gonna have to get into it. People have problems with Miel Organics this week or last week.
Yes. So, Miel Organics, which is a black-owned hair care line, and mainly it's used for natural hair. They got into it with one of the YouTubers, one of the local well, not local, but one of the more famous natural hair YouTubers, and I believe her name is like Linda. I know it's something Lynn in it. But anyway, she's known for doing natural hair videos on YouTube. And so she did a review of Miel Organic's most recent hairline, which is the rice water line. And while she was, using the product in her video, she was making commentary about the consistency of the product. She talked about the hold of the product depending on your hair texture. I mean, she just went into it like an expert would, because she's someone who does these videos all the time. And I did watch the video, and I won't necessarily say her overall tone was negative, but I mean, she was just being truthful. I mean, like you can find your positives in her statements where you could, but for the most part, she was saying, "Well, I like this, but I don't like this, and at the end of the day, this isn't the best hairline that I've used for X, Y, and Z, but it's okay. For the price point, it's okay." So supposedly Miel Organics got into the comment section up underneath this video and told the YouTuber that she used the product incorrectly. And so if you watch her reaction video to this where she explains what happened, she did talk about how she was offended that she would get on her YouTube channel in her comment box and say that in front of her subscribers, you know? And so one thing kind of led to another, and all I know is that it ended with the husband of the owner of Miel Organics calling the YouTuber on her cell phone at night. I believe she said it was like around 8:30, 9 o'clock. Called her, and I mean, it blew up. It turned into a whole argument. She felt like they were trying to intimidate her, and scare her into changing her opinion of the product. And, they were trying to shame her for what she said about the product in her video. And she just kind of felt like at the end of the day, this is my opinion. I purchased the products with her, my own money. She kept saying, I purchased it with my own money. This is my opinion. This is what I do. My subscribers come to me because they trust me to give a truthful review of the product. And that's what I did. And I didn't necessarily shame it. I just was being honest. And it really did turn into an entire fiasco, and it turned into a cancel Miel Organics movement online and within the YouTube community. And a lot of people who have experiences with Miel Organics, whether they were like some type of product ambassador, or if they did a review of them for whatever reason, started sharing pretty much similar interactions with them, just about how they were unprofessional, or they didn't have their things organized. It actually is pretty sad, because I personally love Miel Organic products. I'm fully stocked, actually, which sucks. So
the girl said fully stocked.
Fully stocked, yeah. So that sucks. But Meagan?
Dice, I'm curious. I know you said me, but Dice is the only one of us three who has a YouTube channel. And Dice, I'm curious to know, like, what would you have done in this situation? Like, it's not funny, but I would like live for the day that a company thought they could come on Dice YouTube channel and say, well, you did it wrong. You used it wrong. Like, I feel like, ooh, they wouldn't know who they was messing with. What would you do if this happened to you?
I honestly think I would have taken the same approach as the other YouTuber did. I mean, quite frankly, it's my channel, and I have a right to say what I want on here. And if you don't like it, then tough cookies. Like like, I mean, YouTube is a platform that allows for your free speech, and she has a right to her opinion, just like they have a right to theirs. But I just think it's really sad for any company to go and argue with somebody about a product. Like, if they didn't like it, they didn't like it. There are ways of handling things, but I wouldn't even, like, the fact that she even got on the phone with them, I probably wouldn't even have done that. I'm like, there's nothing more for us to discuss. I mean, unless you want to send me a different product to try, but it's like, I'm not going to go back and change my opinion. And then what's really funny, just a little YouTube insight, is they probably thought that this was going to make her look bad. But in reality, like, just like anything else, drama sells. So all they are doing is helping her. Like, they're helping her platform even more, because now she has another story to tell. It's going to get her more subscribers, more views, more likes. So they really just did her a favor without even knowing it.
Yeah, the part that really threw me is Jordan was like giving us the spill was the husband calling her. I was just like, whoa, like, hold up now. This is gone way too far. And are you calling me on my phone? Like, this is too much. I don't know. Jordan is the Miel Organics expert on this podcast. Okay.
To be honest, I'm probably not going to stop buying that pomegranate and honey line, because I love it so much.
Oh, that's the one I bought.
For your hair.
And that mint, I don't know, it's green, but the mint something line, that's a good one too. I like to use the edge control. It did make my edges grow, which was kind of crazy, because I never thought an edge control could really do that, but it actually did.
Yeah. I've only bought one set of their products, and I used it one time before I got my knotless braids, so I didn't really have a review as of yet. I mean, my fiance said my hair smelled really good, so that was a plus. But I think my pictures
review, girl.
look good. I think my twist out look good, so I'll stay tuned. I don't know. I don't really have any feelings about it, because I'm not that tied in with them yet. Ellen, so the Ellen show is under investigation, y'all. The streets said that it's a hostile work environment, and people don't treat you right, and it's all types of drama. And I mean, that's literally what they said. Like, They said they don't
I'm
treat you
not laughing.
right.
I'm just laughing at how you said it. People don't treat you right
That's
around
what
now.
they said. They said they don't treat you right. It's, toxic and discrimination and all these things going on. They're under investigation, and Ellen allegedly wants to quit the show. So I don't know. Y'all Google that and y'all stay tuned for updates on that because that one kind of threw me. All right, y'all know we gotta talk about this video,
Wow.
this song that done dropped with Cousin Meg and Cardi B. WAP. Oh my gosh. So many thoughts about this. I have to admit, I listened to the song first on Apple and then I went to go look up the video. Watching the video helped me like it more because when I first listened to the song, I was like, eh. I was like, it's all right. It's not all that. I mean, Meg went hard. I will say
Yeah,
that. Like
she did.
Meg saved the song in my opinion. You Barty fans or whatever she calls her people, don't come for me. That's what I think. I think Meg saved the song, but the video definitely is definitely one of those songs. Remember back in the day where like your song pretty much wouldn't be successful if you didn't release a music video with it. Remember those days? I feel
Yeah.
like I feel like the video saved the song, just in my opinion. Um, what y'all think?
Well, I like you when I first heard the song, and I'll be honest, I wasn't really like listening to it, but just off of first impressions, it wasn't the beat like I was expecting in the beginning. So that kind of turned me off, and I think just listening to it without watching the video, I was already just a little disappointed. But then the next day, I did go back and I watched the video because there was so much controversy about it online. And watching the video, that did make me like the song a little bit more. And then I finally listened to the lyrics, and that made me like the song a lot more because I like them lyrics. But I was excited to see the little dance breaks that they had in there. I thought it was cute to see, Cardi and Meg busting a little 8 count because you don't always see, especially Cardi, you don't really see her doing that a lot. Meg has shown us that, she could do a little 1 2, but you don't really see Cardi moving like that. Just her, same old little movements and stuff like that. But I thought those parts were cute. Dice.
Yeah, I mean, I was cool with it. Like the song was straight to me from when I heard it. I thought the video was cute. I appreciate the throwback, vibes from the '90s hairstyles and the Baps vibes that I got from it. So I was all for it personally. I like the song, I like the video.
I know them hairstylists was excited. They was like, yes, these girls about to start coming in every 2 weeks again for the
Yep,
wash and press. We
about to be
about to be
fried,
back
dyed,
in
and laid
there.
to the side.
Please. I know that for me, like, so we obviously, I mean, we'd be remiss if we didn't address the fact that there were a lot of people who did not approve that Miss Kylie Jenner was in the video. And Cardi's I feel like Cardi indirectly spoke out about it on Twitter, and she basically just said like she appreciated all the women who participated in the music video. Normani was up in there. She had a cute little dance break. And Cardi said that she just wanted women of different races, different influence in the video. And that was that. And, I know Meg went live that night, but she didn't address it or anything like that. So people were angry, but I feel like to each his own. At the end of the day, what I will say about it is strategic move on Cardi's end, because for anyone who wasn't gonna watch the video, once they saw people complaining about the fact that Kylie was in it, they definitely went to go look it up, which contributed to the views. In true black girls fashion, I do feel like I have to turn this into an educational moment, especially with all the things that we were talking about, just today earlier with our topic. I would say for me, the biggest headline about this video is, did y'all see where a Republican who's running for Congress somewhere in California like criticized them and was talking about how he accidentally heard their song, and saying that Meg and Cardi were the examples of what happens when children are raised without God and without a strong father figure, and how he felt like he wanted to pour holy water in his ears after hearing the song, and he feels sorry for future girls who have them as a role model. First and foremost, I thought it was funny that he tried to say he heard it accidentally, because how did you accidentally come across their new song the night it came out? Like, you're not fooling nobody. You clearly went to go look it up. But that just really bothered me. it's just a classic example, once again, of someone who cannot relate to Black people, someone who is not Black, putting their nose all the way in our business, trying to tell us what's appropriate, trying to tell us how to live. And I just felt like, how judgmental of you, like, to say that they must have been raised without God because they wrote an explicit song and had a video like where they were embracing their bodies. I really hated that.
Well,
And I
somebody
don't
should have
feel
told
like.
him.
Oh, go ahead, Jordan.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I was just gonna say somebody should have told him to say that about Kylie too, because she was showing up walking through the video. So
Right.
Yeah, I was just going to say that Black male rappers have been making derogatory statements and saying nasty things on songs for decades, and nobody has ever like come for their necks. So I don't see why it's an issue when women do it. It's just a double standard.
Right. And when Black men do it, I mean, it's like you said, it's derogatory. I feel like in this, I mean, they were talking about themselves. Like, I don't know. I just feel like sometimes, like, women, we just can't win when it comes to people like that. I think his name is like James Bradley or something like that. But we just
His
can't win
name
when
is
it comes.
unimportant. That's his name because don't nobody care.
But I mean, in the event that we have a Republican listener from California at some point who's considering voting for this man, I want them to know, you don't need to vote for him because
don't do
he
it.
has too many negative views on women, and is trying to limit us on how vocal we can be about sexuality or embracing our body or whatever. It wasn't his place. He shouldn't have said anything. If you didn't like the song or the video, you don't have to listen to it again. And I didn't like that. I was just like, but Black Twitter ate him up. So, telling if his account is even still up. I'm just being honest, because they go in.
Y'all done scared that man off the internet? Probably not, but
probably not.
Well, last but not least, y'all, before we wrap up completely, if you have not watched Black is King with Beyonce, I highly recommend you do get into the whole outfits, the looks, and everything.
Go get your life. Please go get your life.
Yes.
Yep. And I mean, I guess that's pretty much it for this episode of Not Your Average Black Girls. Thank you for sitting and listening, and be sure to catch us in another week or so for the next episode. We love y'all. We thank y'all. Bye.